on behalf of the Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa, CSEA, I am honored to welcome you all to this Fireside chat on the reshaping Nigeria's potential in science, technology, and innovation. Thank you all for taking our time to join us. This engagement promises to be very engaging and impactful. Today's event is organized by the Center and the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. My name is Udeh, and I work here at Kingsley as the Communications Officer. Before we proceed with the program, kindly permit me to go over a few housekeeping.
All mobile phones and electronic devices be put on silent mode to minimize interruptions. For our participants joining us online, kindly note that this event is streamed live. Please use the designated Q&A sessions, Q&A functions to send in your questions, and they will be answered during the question and answer segment after the fireside chat. For your convenience, the restrooms are located behind the room to my left and to my right. We also have one just outside by the door. After the official proceedings of the event, there will be a networking and cocktail event afterwards, and as well as group pictures. So we encourage everyone to fully participate. For those who are not fully abreast as to what we do here at the center. This is the Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa, CSEA, and what we do is rigorous research, evidence-based research for policy making. And this fireside chat forms part of CSEA's broader commitment to bridging research, policy, and practice, particularly in areas that shapes Nigeria's long-term competitiveness in evolving global knowledge and the technology landscape. We shall now commence the official proceedings of this event with the opening remarks. It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Chukwuka Onyekwena, who is the Executive Director, Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa, to give his opening remarks and also set the context for today's engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause as we receive Dr. Chukwuka.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, distinguished Director Generals, senior officials of the ministry, members of the diplomatic community, Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, and colleagues and partners. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa, an independent, non-profit think tank that conducts evidence-based research on economic and development issues to influence policymaking across Africa. Our work is grounded in a commitment to providing clarity, data, practical insights that help shape policies and institutions needed for Africa's progress. Today, we are gathered to discuss the topic, reshaping Africa's potential in science, technology, and innovation, which speaks directly to one of the most important conversations unfolding around the world. How countries can position themselves to thrive in an increasingly knowledge-driven and technology-powered global economy. We will be honored to have our Honourable Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Dr. Kingsley, Udeh, SAN, who will shape the government's vision for Nigeria's innovation, science, and technology landscape. This event provides us with a unique opportunity to reflect on the role we all play in shaping Nigeria's technological future. In recent years, we have seen how advances in science and technology has transformed nations, opened up economic frontiers, and redefined the way societies operate. From artificial intelligence to biotechnology, renewable energy, digital finance, and precision agriculture, innovation is influencing decisions in every sector. Increasingly, countries are recognizing this shift early and now act with intention, providing themselves for greater competitiveness, resilience, and leadership. Nigeria is not lacking in potential. Our youthful population, growing tech ecosystem, strong entrepreneurial spirit, and emerging hub of scientific and digital activity give us a solid foundation. However, the path from potential to productivity requires strategic investments, clear policy direction, and consistent collaboration across government, academia, industry, and civil society. It requires that we address long-standing barriers, ranging from gaps in research funding and weak innovation infrastructure, to limited commercialization pathways and fragmentation across institutions. This is why today's conversation becomes essential. The discussions will allow for honest and constructive engagement and enable us to understand ongoing reforms, share experiences from our different sectors, and identify practical steps that can move the science, technology, and innovation agenda forward. For us at CC, we believe that effective policy is strengthened by an open dialogue and evidence. We see today as an important step toward deepening that connection. We also recognize that the world moves fast and Nigeria cannot afford to fall behind. Many countries are already redesigning their national innovation systems, revising their science, technology, and innovation policies, and investing heavily in research and advanced technologies. Nigeria's own trajectory will depend on how rapidly we can translate ideas into action. This includes equipping our institutions with the right capabilities, ensuring our education system prepares young people for emerging industries, and creating an environment where innovators and researchers can succeed without unnecessary obstacles. So today's discussion is therefore both forward-looking and pragmatic. We hope it will shed light on the government's priorities, reveal opportunities for collaboration, and inspire renewed commitment from all stakeholders. So on behalf of CC, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the Honourable Minister for honoring this invitation. He's on his way. His presence demonstrates the ministry's openness to engagement and its commitments to building science, technology, and innovation system that works for Nigeria. I also extend my appreciation to every participant here today. Your time, expertise, and perspectives reflect the collective efforts required to drive meaningful change in this sector. As we begin, I encourage all of you to approach this conversation with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to propose practical, results-oriented ideas. We hope that the insights shared today will not end here, but will inspire continuous collaboration and contribute to shaping Nigeria's innovation ambitions in a way that is inclusive, strategic, and transformative. Thank you once again for being here, and I wish you all an insightful, engaging, and productive session ahead. Thank you.
Please can we give another round of applause to Dr. Chukwuka Onyekwena for setting the tone for us to formally begin this event today. We will now proceed to the keynote address, and our keynote speaker for this afternoon is Professor Azikiwe Peter Onwalu, President of the African University of Science and Technology, Abuja, and former Director General of the Raw Materials Research and Development Council. Professor Onwalu is widely recognized for his contributions to engineering, innovation policy, and industry development in Nigeria and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Onwalu. Please a round of applause.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that introduction, and thanks to Executive Director. I hope that's what you are called in CC, for that thought-provoking welcome address. I would have loved that the minister is here before we start, but I'm sure we'll still have time to get him engaged. So I'd like to appreciate the Honourable Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, and the Directors General that are here. I can see Director General of NASDA and Biotech Agency. Please pardon me if I'm too old in this. I'm too old in this ecosystem, so maybe I'm not able to know some of the other DGs that are here. But please, I really want to recognize everybody, respected leaders from academia, industry, civil society, and the entire innovation ecosystem of Nigeria. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to be invited to deliver this keynote address at this timely and important fireside chat by the Honourable Minister of Science and Technology. I commend CC for convening this platform at such a critical moment in our national journey, a moment full of expectations and hope that Nigeria will rise again. Today's theme is reshaping Nigeria's potential in science, knowledge, and innovation. This theme calls for bold reflection, courageous imagination, and unified action. At this very moment, Nigeria stands at a crossroads in her development journey, which has been characterized by an unfortunate paradox. And that paradox is, I believe, clear to everybody here. A country endowed with abundant natural resources and, in fact, human capital, and yet underdeveloped, with one of the largest youth populations in the world, and an economy rich in both natural and human potentials, we are presented with a rare opportunity to redefine our trajectory from resource dependence to a knowledge-driven economy. I warmly congratulate the Honourable Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology on his recent assumption of office. Your appointment comes at a time when Nigeria's aspirations for economic diversification, competitiveness, and inclusive growth are increasingly tied to how effectively we harness science, technology, and innovation. Honourable Minister, sir, your assumption of this critical office comes at a defining moment in our national trajectory. The nation has entrusted you with a mandate that is not merely ministerial, but fundamentally transformative. Looks like Minister is up. Okay, so I'll pause. So welcome the Honourable Minister.
Ladies and gentlemen, the minister is on his way. Please, as soon as he gets in, we would all rise for the national anthem. We would sing it while as soon as he gets to his seat before he makes his seat. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please may we rise as we prepare to take the first stanza of the Nigerian national anthem. Media, please.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all and proud to serve our sovereign motherland.
Thank you very much. Please, let's be seated. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to acknowledge very respectfully the presence of our esteemed dignitaries and protocol, the Honourable Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Dr. Kingsley Udeh, SAN, Your Excellencies, the Ambassadors and High Commissioners present, the distinguished Director Generals of the Federal Parastatals, our esteemed representatives of development partners, the Executive Director, Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa, Dr. Chukwuka Onyekwena, all our invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all once again, please. We'll now continue with the keynote speech. Please, once again, let's put our hands together for Professor Onwalu.
Honourable Minister, you are most welcome. So I would like to greet everybody again and welcome the Honourable Minister to this event. Today's theme, Reshaping Nigeria's Potential in Science, Knowledge and Innovation, calls for bold reflection courageous imagination, and unified action. At this very moment, Nigeria stands at crossroads in her development journey, which has been characterized by an unfortunate paradox: a country endowed with abundant natural resources and human capital, and yet underdeveloped, with one of the largest populations, youth populations in the world, and an economy rich in both natural and human capital. We are presented with a rare opportunity to redefine our trajectory from resource dependence to a knowledge-driven economy. I warmly congratulate the Honourable Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology on his recent assumption of office. Your appointment, sir, comes at a time when Nigeria's aspirations for economic diversification, competitiveness, and inclusive growth are increasingly tied to how effectively we harness science, technology, and innovation. Honourable Minister, sir, your assumption of this critical office comes at a defining moment in our national trajectory. The nation has entrusted you with a mandate that is not merely ministerial, but fundamentally transformative. The mandate to leverage science, technology, and innovation to reshape the destiny of this country. The theme before us this afternoon is reshaping Nigeria's potential in science, technology, and innovation. This is both a challenge and a call for action. It speaks not of incremental change, but a reimagining system, redefining priorities, and repositioning Nigeria for leadership in a rapidly changing globalized world driven by technology. Where are we currently as a nation? What are the potentials? What are the gaps? And what is the imperative of STI for national development? You will agree with me, everybody here, that Nigeria does not suffer from lack of natural resources. Rather, we actually have them in abundance. Nigeria also does not suffer from lack of talent, because we have talent. We are the continent's largest economy, with a vibrant ecosystem of over 200 million people, home to the brightest minds and the largest youth population group globally. Our tech startups are attracting international investment. Our engineers are working in Silicon Valley and indeed other innovation and industrial hubs all over the world. Our scientists are publishing in Q1 journals very easily. Our higher educational institutions and research institutes produce thousands of scientists, engineers, technologists, and innovators every year. Our diaspora is excelling at the highest levels of global science, medicine, engineering, and digital innovation. But this is all potential because it has not really impacted on our development trajectory. And yet, with all these, we must speak the truth. We must speak to ourselves honestly. We must speak to the paradox that characterizes the Nigerian economy. Despite these trends, we face systemic critical gaps. The challenges are well known to everybody here. Inadequate infrastructure. Is it water, housing, electricity, transportation, healthcare, food and agriculture, environment, manufacturing, and very recently, security? A widening gap between academia and industry. And then, more importantly, the brain drain that sees our best minds solving problems for other nations. I'm sure if I'm to take a census now, 3/4 of the young people here are either planning to japa or they're already, their visas are already in their pockets to leave this country. The linkages between academia, industry, and government are very weak. Many brilliant ideas die in our laboratories, in thesis, in conference proceedings, never reaching the marketplace or improving the lives of Nigerians. So reshaping Nigeria's STI potential, therefore, begins with a sober recognition, and that is that talent alone is not enough to develop a nation. Systems matter, because you may be very talented and you find yourself in a system that is dysfunctional. You will join that dysfunctionality. It means creating the infrastructure we need, physical, financial, policy, to retain our best talents and have them solve our toughest problems right here in Nigeria, thereby creating sustainable wealth and transforming our economy from an import-oriented consumption economy to a production-based one. Science, technology, and innovation are not abstract concepts. They are engines that drive economic growth, social well-being, and national competitiveness. In today's global knowledge economy, countries that lead are those that nurture and deploy homegrown ideas, research, and technologies to solve the societal challenges. This national imperative is reflective in the renewed strategic focus of the federal government of Nigeria and the Ministry of Innovation, Science, and Technology. The government has articulated a clear commitment to build a science-driven, innovation-based economy that drives economic diversification, stimulates job creation, and empowers youth and women across all sectors of the society. The Honourable Minister will agree with me, sir, that science, technology, and innovation remain central to the success of the renewed hope agenda. I don't know what the agenda will be in 2027. Honourable Minister, is it still renewed hope, or hope is a continue? Thank you very much. A framework designed to accelerate Nigeria's socio-economic transformation. This can only happen if we build trust in science, ensuring that research translates into practical benefits that improve daily lives of Nigerians. So, where do we go from here? It is to move from research to economic impact. And I believe that almost everybody in this room is a scientist in one way or the other, or is a researcher or an innovator. So there is a call for a functional national innovation ecosystem. And I think that is what has been lacking in this country. We have innovation systems scattered here and there, but the innovation ecosystem itself is not functional. Globally, STI have become the primary drivers of national power and economic resilience. Digital technologies are reshaping governance and service delivery. Artificial intelligence and data science are transforming healthcare, agriculture, and security. Biotechnology is redefining food systems and medicine. Clean energy and climate innovations are determining future competitiveness. Materials innovations are generating new advanced materials that are driving manufacturing of uncountable number of new innovative products. Nations that invest strategically in STI are accelerating ahead. Those that do not are falling behind, not by years, but by generations. For Nigeria, the question is no longer whether we should prioritize STI, but how boldly and how coherently can we do it? To unlock Nigeria's full economic potential, we need to enhance our national innovation ecosystem. This ecosystem includes not only researchers and institutions, but also policymakers, investors, entrepreneurs, and communities in the spirit of the triple helix model of innovation. Research alone does not create prosperity. Actually, it is the commercialization of research results and their transformation into innovations, the scaling of innovations, and the ability to bring them to the marketplace. These are the things that generate jobs and build resilience in all economic sectors. Here, our efforts are promising. The government has developed the National Policy on Science, Technology, and Innovation. And this policy has been there. I think the last time we modified this was 2022. In addition to implementing this policy, government has established and empowered structures such as the Interministerial Committee on Research and Innovation, which brings together key sectors from agriculture to health, energy to education, manufacturing to SMEs, solid minerals to oil and gas, transportation to housing and environment, to align research priorities with national development goals. This strategy ensures coherence and avoids duplication of efforts across ministries, departments, and agencies. However, beyond coordination, we must cultivate an environment where our higher educational institutions, research institutes or councils, innovators and entrepreneurs are incentivized to pursue solutions that are relevant to our people's needs, whether it is in food security, healthcare, and all the ones I've mentioned before. It's also critical that we strengthen our intellectual property regimes, enabling innovators to protect and commercialize their ideas. Strong IP frameworks are not just technical requirements. They are foundations to attracting investment and ensuring that Nigerian inventions compete globally through the production of innovative goods and services. Without establishing yet another agency or parastatal, we should establish a functional national system of innovation to connect the dots within the Nigerian innovation ecosystem. Innovation must not be an allied project. It must address everyday realities of Nigerians. Science and technology should help us improve agricultural productivity and food security, expand access to quality healthcare, create decent jobs for young people, build climate resilience, improve governance, and public service delivery. When citizens feel the impact of innovation in their daily lives, public trust and national cohesion are strengthened. In doing this, in achieving this, that is, having a functional national system of innovation, there are three major stakeholders that must do something or must be able to work together. And that is what I already mentioned earlier in the spirit of the triple helix. So there is a role for the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation, which represents the government side of this ecosystem. Honourable Minister, your ministry occupies a strategic position in Nigeria's future. The task before you is not merely to manage institutions, but to orchestrate a national innovation ecosystem, one that aligns policy, funding, talent, infrastructure, and market demand. This requires a shift in mindset from fragmented interventions to systemic coordination, from short-term projects to long-term national missions, from government-only solutions to public-private partnerships. The ministry must increasingly serve as a policy anchor for national innovation priorities, a catalyst for research commercialization, a convener of stakeholders across sectors, and a bridge between knowledge and industry. The higher educational institutions also have their role. And when I talk about higher educational institutions, I mean our universities, polytechnics, research institutes, and so on. As Vice Chancellor of the African University of Science and Technology, Abuja, I speak from the perspective of higher education and advanced research. Higher educational institutions must be more than centers of teaching and learning. There must be engines of innovation, problem solving, and enterprise creation. To reshape Nigeria's STI potential, we must strengthen postgraduate education in all fields, promote interdisciplinary research in STEAM, not just STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, align with national needs, encourage innovation hubs and incubators and technology parks within the higher educational institutions and research institutes. Reward researchers not only for publications, but for impact in terms of goods and services. We must bridge the gap between research and industry. One of Nigeria's most persistent challenges is the gap between research and industry. Too often, industry views academia as theoretical. Academia view industry as uninterested in research. This divide is very costly for us. Reshaping our STI potential requires deliberate mechanisms to connect laboratories to factories, ideas to markets. These include innovation grants focused on commercialization, co-funded research programs with industry, technology transfer offices need to be strengthened with real capacity to produce, procurement policies that favor local innovation. I think we tried this, we started this even during Obasanjo regime, where parastatals, MDAs, and even private sector are encouraged to patronize local contractors or local manufacturers in their procurement policies. But we know that even as of today, most of the procurement policies favor imported goods and services. When industry becomes a partner in knowledge creation, definitely innovation flourishes. Let me also touch a little bit on funding because it is key. I think the executive director already pointed, or somebody else already pointed at this. When you compare the level of funding available to innovators or researchers within Nigeria compared to those countries where things are working, no nation becomes innovative by accident. It cannot happen by magic or by accident. Unfortunately, this is not where African magic will work. Investment matters. Sustained investment. Nigeria must progressively increase its investment in research and development, not as consumption, but as strategic investment for future productivity. But beyond increasing funding, we must improve how funds are deployed in a competitive manner. The next thing I would like to touch on is human capital. We already have human capital, but we need to do more. So we must harness the youth talents that we have. And I've recommended 3 major pillars for you, Honourable Minister, for making sure that our youths are properly engaged in the area of science, technology, and innovation. Pillar 1, from research papers to patents. I've said this before. In my university, for example, before you get a PhD, I think what is on paper is that you must give us at least 2 papers from any Scopus Index journals. Not just Scopus Index journals, but Scopus Index journals in selected countries. And I'm sure a number of universities are doing this. So publishing is not the problem. But recently, I have challenged my Senate that we need to make a little amendment to that condition for getting a PhD. In addition to these publications, there should also be patents and, in fact, goods and services. So we must encourage our youth. And one recommendation I have for the Honourable Minister is to find a way, and I'm sure he's already working on this, to expand the funding window available. In fact, I'm recommending that under the leadership of this minister, we can reshape this ecosystem by establishing a national innovation translation fund Of course, this can still be part of the overall National Research and Innovation Fund. But this fund should not just subsidize research, but explicitly co-finance projects between higher educational institutions, research institutes, and local industries, offering grants for demonstrable prototypes and proofs of concept and minimum viable products that address national challenges, whether it is a software or an app or ICT gadgets. And in fact, this just comes to mind. 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege of cutting the tape to an IT gadgets warehouse, not far from here, in I think it's opposite Barnex. Big warehouse with over 1,000 gadgets, from what we put in our ears to what can enable you to send documents to a printer. But out of over 1,000 products I saw there, none of them is made in my dear country, Nigeria. Decentralized energy solutions, water solutions, transport systems, smart materials, climate smart agriculture, AI-driven security systems. If we have this working in this country, how can anybody tell me that you can kidnap people and we can't find them? Emerging technologies, including 3D printers, robotics, UAVs, electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles. These things are not just, we are not talking about these things for the sake of them. But the point is that if we're able to deal with some of these, it means that all the other things that we need to manufacture and produce in this country will just be at our fingertips. Pillar number 2, human capital reengineering. And we know it. We have over 300 universities today in Nigeria, and then polytechnics and so on. And they are licensing more. I hope NUC is here. I'm not trying to criticize NUC, but don't be surprised if by next week we have another 10 universities. But we need to re-engineer our human capital development. There should be a massive scale-up of TVET, technical and vocational education and training. Because the truth is that all the graduates, most of the graduates we produce, the major thing they have is their certificates. I think I remember Obama saying that he likes people who can do stuff the way they say it in America. Not people who say they can, but who can do stuff. The diaspora bridge is there. I know that we have a commission dealing with diaspora engagement, but we need to engage our diaspora more. We must turn every Nigerian higher educational institution into an opportunity hub, making staying and building here a more attractive prospect than leaving the country. Pillar number 3, STI for national resilience, solving major issues in the area of security, infrastructure challenges. Science and technology must be direct tools for national resilience, so that when we have these perturbations, STI will be able to help us to resolve them. But, Honourable Minister, I'm sure you know more than I do that all these can only work if there are partnerships. No country achieves scientific and innovative excellence in isolation. Partnerships between governments, private sector, academia, and indeed civil society and international organizations are very, very essential. Collaborative ecosystems allow resources, expertise, opportunities to flow freely, accelerating innovation and enabling Nigerian ideas to thrive on the global stage. We must deepen engagements with global partners, but of course we must start from within. I once went to one of the European countries to defend a project, and after all the defense with other African countries, the organizers called out the names of those who did well. And I thought I heard my name in the first 3. By the time they started announcing the funds, those that are giving funds, my name was missing. That is the name of my university. And I was kind of curious. So the person announced, he said he could see me shifting in my seat. But the reason they are not going to give Nigeria is that all the money we are looking for are in Nigeria. And so we must start from within. But of course, starting from that within means that we cannot do it without engaging the donor community. We must align with continental and regional initiatives such as that of African Union and that of ECOWAS, and attract foreign direct investment into our research and innovation sectors. These partnerships should be grounded in mutual respect, built on shared goals for Africa's development, and leverage to create lasting impact for our people. The ministry should intensify efforts towards becoming part of global initiatives such as the Science Granting Council's initiative, SGCI. Incidentally, Honourable Minister, the African University of Science and Technology is a co-PI in a project that started in 2023 and funded by the International Development Research Center of Canada under the Science Granting Council initiative. In this project, called Strengthening Research Funding Agencies in West Africa, and working with our partner, Africa Technology Policy Studies Network based in Nairobi, we have worked to strengthen research funding agencies in West Africa, basically to ensure that 6 selected countries in West Africa, namely Ghana, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Nigeria, have operational and functional National Research and Innovation Fund and National Research and Innovation Council. And we've been on this since 2023. And indeed, other stakeholders are also working on this. Of the 6 countries under our purview, only Nigeria is yet to operationalize its NRF. And this project started just like 2 years ago. I don't know what the problem is, but I know that this Honourable Minister will solve it. This problem has, I don't want to say, but it has outlived almost 5 ministers. But this is the bus stop. The other 5 countries in this example I'm giving have established and operationalized their NRF and are currently attracting funding from the SGCI initiative, which we are part of. The activation and operationalization of Nigeria's National Research and Innovation Fund is particularly timely, and we shall continue to work with the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, and indeed other stakeholders towards operationalizing the NRIF. And I'm just coming from another meeting, I believe, convened by the Honourable Minister, because his permanent secretary was there and assured us that this is a bygone, is already concluded. And that's the Sankore project, which is ongoing. It will continue for tomorrow and next. The Sankore project, funded by FCDO, implemented by UNESCO and Research for Development and SHESCO, is also working on this, what I've just talked about. For too long, sir, the lack of deliberate and sustained funding architecture has hampered the ability of researchers, innovators, and institutions in Nigeria to translate brilliant ideas into solutions that directly respond to national priorities. The fund presents an institutionalized mechanism that will ensure predictable support for research and innovation, facilitate competitive research grants, and encourage cross-sector engagement from academia to industry and to government and, in fact, civil society. This will, in turn, catalyze innovation outputs, drive technology adoption, and in critical sectors like agriculture, energy, transportation, healthcare, digital technologies, and accelerate job creation and sustainable development. So we are not just talking about funding. We are talking about having an organized system of innovation where the research coming out from our research centers are being transformed into innovations, and these innovations then translate to goods and services that are produced and made in Nigeria. In conclusion, sir, reshaping Nigeria's potential in science, technology, and innovation is not just an aspiration. It is an urgent national mission. It demands coordination, visionary leadership, and sustained commitment from all sectors of the society. And I believe the Honourable Minister has all these qualities. The task of reshaping Nigeria's potential is a monumental one, but it is not one that the ministry must face alone. And I've just noted that it requires very serious collaboration among each of the members of the Triple Helix. Our shared future is not beneath the ground in crude oil. I think for long we've depended on crude oil for too long. It is above the ground. It is in the minds of our youth and in the intellectual property generated by our scientists. I am confident that under your visionary leadership, sir, we will not only bridge the gap between our potential and our prosperity, but we will redefine the role of Nigeria as an innovation powerhouse on the global stage. Let us commit to investing more in education, capacity building, strengthening research and innovation and commercialization ecosystems. Let us invest in empowering our youths, women, and underserved communities with emerging technologies, forging partnerships that amplify Nigerian ingenuity in technology-driven projects for national development. Together, under a functional national system of innovation, we can create an economy where ideas become industries, innovations become livelihoods, and knowledge becomes prosperity in a sustainable manner. These are encapsulated, sir, in the current national policy on science, technology, and innovation. What is required, Honourable Minister, is the operationalization of the National Research and Innovation Fund. As we reflect on this vision, challenges, and way forward for the ministry, one truth stands clear. Reshaping Nigeria's potential science, technology, and innovation is not the responsibility of one ministry alone. And I must tell you this, because this is a challenge that the ministers before you faced. It is a national mission. Government must lead with clarity and consistency. Academia must innovate with purpose. Industry must invest with confidence. Civil society and think tanks such as CSEA must provide evidence, insight, and accountability. Together, sir, we can build an innovation ecosystem that is Nigerian in context, African in leadership, and global in impact. Thank you for your attention.
Please let's once again put our hands together for Professor Azikiwe Peter Onwolu for such a detailed keynote speech. Seems more like a master class to me. Please, a round of applause once again for the professor. Okay, distinguished guests, the Honourable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the central feature of today's program, which is the Fireside Chat with Dr. Kingsley, Udeh, SAN. This session will be moderated by no other than the Executive Director of the Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa, CSEA, Dr. Chukwuka Onyekwena. The conversation will explore how Nigeria can effectively harness science, technology, and innovation to drive inclusive growth, economic diversification, and national competitiveness. May I at this time respectfully request that my ED comes forward to invite the minister himself. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for Dr. Chukwuka.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, His Excellencies, Director Generals, and every partner and colleague here, Without much ado, it is my single honor to welcome the Honourable Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Kingsley Udeh, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, to the Fireside chat here, please. So welcome everyone to this session, which is the peak of the event. A fireside chat is essentially a conversational engagement with a key individual. And today we have the Honourable Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, in the name of Dr. Kingsley Udeh. So, without much ado, I will start the conversation with a critical issue that we hear in Nigeria. It's been mentioned in the keynote address, and is the fundamental problem that while Nigeria has vast resources, natural, environmental, human, the capacity to transform them into value-added goods remain weak and underachieved over time. Honourable Minister, what is the missing link, and how do you think, under your administration as the minister, you can tackle this problem of adding value to our raw materials?
First, let me thank the leadership and the team of CSEA that put this together. Incidentally, CSEA has been a very credible partner that I've worked with for years, even during my work with the government of Enugu State. And now here we are. So I think it should be an applause to the benefit of relationship. If we can please clap for CSEA. So the work of CSEA has spanned beyond the state, Enugu State, to various states in Nigeria and Nigeria. And I think if no one acknowledges what you're doing, I acknowledge. You've been with me from SSA to a special advisor to commissioner and now minister of the Federal Republic. So thank you very much. So the missing link. As you acknowledge, Nigeria is not bereft of ideas. Nigeria is not bereft of human and natural resources, at a very high level. Any country you visit, advanced economies, with advanced technologies, and you go into that sector, into any ecosystem, especially science, technology, and innovation ecosystem, you'll find a Nigerian. Even the robotics, the space sectors of the United States, you'll find Nigerians. Now, we have natural and human resources in abundance in Nigeria. But one of the key factors that has undermined our advancement as a nation in science, technology, and innovation, and of course in taking advantage of science, technology, and innovation to be a manufacturing hub and not a consumption economy, is the fragmentation of the science, technology, and innovation ecosystem. Now, the power of focus and synergy and united force is one of the things that is lacking there, because different players, government in some parts, the private sector in its own part, and different players that are in the STI ecosystem, they all play as if they are in silos. So no coordination, no synergy, and no focus. Now, what we are doing at the moment under the Renew Hope agenda of the president is to see science, technology, and innovation as an ecosystem. And if we say it's an ecosystem. It means it has moving parts that are connected, interconnected, and one feeding the other. So that this fragmentation would begin to be cured by deliberate effort to connect them together. And to achieve this, we're already working on the STI roadmap. And I don't want to sound intellectual here because I would be putting examples of what we are doing and the achievement so far, while of course acknowledging some of our weaknesses so that partners could support us in this. So, for example, within the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, we have NOTAP, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion. What NOTAP does primarily, its mandate, is to identify innovators or inventors. Now support these innovators and inventors with processing patents for them. Now, before I came into office, I discovered that NOTAP would process patent for these innovators or inventors, process that for free, issue them with patent certificate, but it ends there. And some of these patents will be hard, but will never be utilized into, prototyping and into commercialization. So when we took office, we said, NOTAP, let's not stop by just issuing patent certificate to these people. Let's support them. Let's connect with other agencies within the STI ecosystem that would help these innovators, these inventors, take the patent out of their shelves and translate them into prototyping of needed goods and services and onto commercialization. So this effort is deliberate towards trying to solve the issue of fragmentation of efforts within our ecosystem. And of course, the issue of funding has been raised. Now, like I said, it's an ecosystem. It's not just government. The private sector should also be involved. Now, I just returned from a visit to Algeria to attend the African Startups Conference. And one of the things that I noticed is that in Algeria, research at even the academic level, the higher institution level, is not done by the researchers as they wish. Every research must be tied to national and market needs. And the market needs would also, if it is identified, the industrial leaders would also put their funds. Why? Because it's what they need. So they can fund it because they know that the outcome of that research will feed into profitability of their industry, their business enterprise. So you discover that they can fund it because they are providing of course, the research would provide solution to their businesses. And the same thing with government. Government also provide funds because the research would would address national needs. So it's part of what we also want to adopt in Nigeria so that these missing links would be covered.
What about the legislation that 30% that compels 30%?
Okay, yes, thank you. Now, there's a cherry news. There's a bill that just passed from the House of Representatives to the Senate, and they have now finalized and passed the bill. And the bill is 30% value addition bill of the the raw material development and research agency. Now, what that bill seeks to do is that every raw material, and we know that Nigeria is raw material rich, so every raw material that is in Nigeria cannot leave the shores of Nigeria as export until 30% value is added to that raw material. What that therefore translates to is that we cannot just allow the mining of coal, for example, mining or even certain crops like cash crops like cocoa, and then just send the raw materials out of Nigeria without first adding value. Now, of course, this what it does is that it translates into an enlargement of industrial capacity across the different raw materials, across the various value chain. And this bill that haven't been passed has gone to the president for assent. Now, it also recognizes that you can't talk about insisting on 30% value addition without setting up certain other structures, infrastructure, enablers. You can't just wake up and say you must add 30% value before you export. And that law also has put in place strategies and structures that will ensure that 30% value addition that has been mandated will be achieved. Of course, the law gives a time or a moratorium to enable stakeholders to build capacity to ensure that 30% value is added to every of our raw material. The good thing about this law is that it has major stakeholders buy-in. It took a long time and process to get stakeholders, industry players, big businesses, exporters and importers, chambers of commerce, and other key stakeholders to not only make their input into the bill, but also commit to ensuring the implementation of that law when it's been signed into the bill, when it's been signed into law. Because, of course, our problem in Nigeria is not really about good policies and good laws, but also of implementation. But I know that is a commitment of the government and the stakeholders, the industry players, to see to the full implementation of this law when it fully comes in force. It's one of the key things that will take Nigeria out of import dependence to being an export hub of not raw materials, but of value-added goods, works, and services. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that remark. Moving on to another issue, and that's insecurity. So, it's been widely believed that science and technology can be harnessed in the form of satellite technology, to tackle the problem of insecurity in Nigeria. Can you describe the process and how your ministry can, help to tackle that?
Well, the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology is actually the coordinating hub for the STI ecosystem. So I normally would tell people that I am not the minister of the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. I'm the minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for Innovation, Science and Technology. Are two different things. So we see the STI ecosystem beyond the ministry. Because within the STI ecosystem, the science, technology, and innovation ecosystem, we find agencies, we find stakeholders. Even the president is part of the Nigeria STI ecosystem because he's the chair of the Nigeria Space Council, the chair of Nigeria Science, Technology, and Innovation Council. And so within the STI ecosystem, Nigeria STI ecosystem, we have the Nigeria Space Research and Development Agency, the NASDA. Incidentally, the DG is here. Now, the NASDA has launched satellites into the space. And that is why we have robust telecommunication in Nigeria. We have other satellite capabilities. But beyond that, seeing that satellite technology, space science is something that keeps evolving. So the Federal Executive Council and the President just approved the launching into orbit of 4 new satellites, 3 optical satellites and 1 SAR satellite. Now, these satellite technologies would, joining those that have been launched already, would, of course, be used in geospatial data gathering across the length and breadth of Nigeria and a bit outside our borders. And this is not just try to speak to what we're doing, but immediately the new Minister of Defense took office. We sought to have interaction with him on how to deploy our satellite capabilities in what the Ministry of Defense and the Nigerian Armed Forces are doing. Now, the ministry is a service ministry. And when I say service, it means it provides STI services, STI enablement across the government, across the various sectors of Nigerian economy. So we're already working together with the new Minister of Defense and our armed forces to provide the intelligence required data. And once we have done that, I believe they will take it from there. And some of the geospatial data gathered, where it's in a hub where they can have access to, and some will transmit directly to them, especially the very security sensitive ones. So once we do that, they will take it from there. Like I said, it's division of labor. We have our own part, and the other stakeholders in the security architecture will have their own part. But I believe that beyond that is also, for security, is a commitment of everybody that security is everyone's business. So if you see it, you say it. So it's all part of data gathering for security, not just the one from the satellite. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Talking about innovation hubs now. Globally, innovation hubs have been used to bridge the gap between research and industry. Are there plans of your ministry to create innovation hubs to bridge that gap and also to support entrepreneurship in Nigeria?
We have currently under the National Board for Technology Incubation, we have 52 innovation hubs. And under the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, we have 68 centers of intellectual property technology transfer centers. Now, are these numbers enough? No. Are all these hubs and centers optimized? No. But are we making effort to do that? Yes. How? Now, these innovation hubs and the IP technology transfer centers are the effort of the federal government of Nigeria. And as I emphasized earlier, what we have, just like in every other country, is an ecosystem, STI ecosystem with stakeholders. So one of the things I have directed the relevant DGs is to, I'm just 1 month in office, is to report to me on the status and the conditions of these 52 and the 68 hubs and centers. Now, the intention is that once we have ascertained their conditions, to what extent are they operational? Have they been designed to meet specific needs? Are they specialized? Are they optimized in terms of equipment and the way they are run? Are they of global standard? Are they user-friendly? Do they connect with the market? Are they market and industry-driven? Or just to answer the name that we have hubs and centers? But I know it's not just to answer that we have hubs and centers. And once we've identified that, the intention is to write to the governors of all the states where these hubs and centers are. The centers and the university. I mean, the centers, the IP technology transfer centers and university will partner with the universities to ensure that their research that are patent worthy and patent ready could be taken out from the research labs and into processing for patent. And then after that will help for commercialization. So write to the governors where these hubs and centers are, informing them of the status, the current status or conditions of these centers and hubs, and identifying steps to be taken to optimize these hubs to be of global standards. Because what we're doing at the moment under the leadership of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, with me overseeing the STI ecosystem, is that we're not looking at catch up. We're not looking at catching up technology of other countries. We're looking at being leaders, and we have all that it takes to be leaders in the science, technology, and innovation space. What we require is coordination to be organized. What we require is synergy. So we'll write to these governors, identify what steps to be taken to optimize these hubs and centers to global standards, and then begin to interact and engage them to partner and have ownership. Ownership is not just to own the but to know that these centers and hubs would develop the skills of their populace, especially the energetic youth, take the already existing skills transform them into inventions, and transform the inventions to patent-worthy, patent-ready outcomes. And then with support of government, and not just state government, also local government and some industry players that have need for such, and then transform those to commercialization. And this is it's inventions or findings that are commercialized that we know about. And we know that Nigerians are good at what they do. Even with the little support, you still have Nigerian startup dominating fintech across Africa and even beyond. And with sufficient coordinated government support and synergy amongst the stakeholders, we will do far more. We go away from being, doing catch-up to being one of the STI leaders.
Thank you. Moving quickly to energy as an issue. Science, technology, and innovation is a fundamental driver of energy transition. How is your ministry supporting energy diversification in such a way that we can have reliable and cost-effective energy supply in Nigeria?
We have under our ecosystem an agency named Energy Commission of Nigeria. And the priority project of this Energy Commission of Nigeria is what they refer to, or what we refer to, as solarization. And what that entails is taking off grid most of the higher institutions of learning of Nigeria and putting them on solar power. It's an ongoing project. It's fund intensive, but we're succeeding in it. So it's not just the higher institutions, but also some health institutions, so that you know that when classes are going on, research going on, surgery in the health centers are going on, health institutions are going on, and it's a power outage. You can imagine what that causes at various levels. So we take these institutions off the national grid so that they run on solar power. And the capability of Nigeria for solar energy is huge, enormous. So that's what we're tapping into for diversification of of energy in Nigeria. There's also the biofuel, hydrogen, but the one that we are focusing on this time is diversification through solar energy, and it's being championed by one of our agencies, the Energy Commission of Nigeria. We have actually done a lot of research and development programs on this, so that we do not just say we are doing solarization, then importing the lithium batteries, importing all the components. No, we're already establishing capability to produce this energy component, this solar energy component,
Right.
and also undertaking training of the manpower for the installation of this energy component. So it's a comprehensive process, a comprehensive project of energy diversification.
Excellent, thank you. Moving on to an issue of dependence on foreign technology. You know, our dependence on foreign technology means that we lose jobs, and we have also the issue of knowledge dependence. How is your ministry going to tackle this by supporting homegrown technology in Nigeria?
All right, we already supported homegrown technology, but like I said, what we require at the moment is making this coordinated. I'd already mentioned that the NOTAP, the National Office for Technology Transfer and Promotion, right, is in all the universities, working with them to identify patent-worthy research findings. And when that is done, under my administration, with the support of the president, we're ensuring that we do not leave that effort to remain at the patent level, or making effort to commercialize. And as my brother Prof mentioned, you say that bringing to fruition the National Research and Innovation Fund had beaten 5 ministers, right? So 5 ministers came and it didn't succeed, right? But I believe that working together as stakeholders within the STI ecosystem and understanding the importance of STI and funding of STI, right? In fact, we can't move from being a developed country we move from being a developing country to developed country. We can't meet our needs. We can't match aspiration with reality if we don't take STI seriously. And I believe the president is conscious of this. So funding is critical. And not just funding it, but also ensuring that funds are used based on data, so that we put money where they should be put, right? And also accountability in deployment of funds. So we are not just going to look at funding, but also start from the beginning to track how research and development is done, how it connects with our national priorities, connects with market needs. And then, of course, you know that when research, when any form of invention is meeting market needs, especially the market that is well funded, the players there would be happy to provide the funds. So we are mobilizing stakeholders within the STI ecosystem. Before I came here, I had already begun the process of connecting with the chief technology officers of the 50 most prominent companies in Nigeria. Because we do not claim exclusivity of knowledge or ideas on how to take Nigeria for where it is as doing catch-up in technology, science and innovation to be leaders. No, we do not claim exclusivity of ideas. So we want to partner with the key players outside of the government in the marketplace to see that we synergize, we work together to identify priorities, national priorities, market needs, and also mobilize support and funding from the industry players for research that would address some of these things. I did my master's in the UK, University of Nottingham. Some of my research colleagues discovered that their research was funded by companies, some of them outside of the UK, some the US. And these individuals, why not some of them are not even from the US, but what was the defining factor is the fact that these companies needed the research outcome and they had to fund it. So we can do same in Nigeria. Once the industry players know that we are serious, we are coordinated, we are organized, we are transparent, and know that there's expected outcome that would boost production, optimize profit, they would fund it. So support for local inventions and innovation is not just for the government, but for all stakeholders, and it's all hands on deck, and we're leading it.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The final issue is on artificial intelligence. Like you said, you don't want to be playing catch-up. So artificial intelligence is at the frontier. How is your ministry going to harness the power of AI in enhancing productivity and processes?
You know that the ministry is largely a policy hub for STI. It's a policy hub. We are not the off-takers. We are not the consumers, largely. We are not even implementers. We are policymakers and we are energizers. And one of the promises I made to stakeholders in the Nigerian STI ecosystem is that I will energize you. Implementation of our laws largely are done by the agencies. We have 18 agencies that implement our policies and our laws. So we energize them. They will notice that since I came into office that you've been energized, right? Yes. We know that this is not politics.
Right.
This is about the future of Nigeria. This is the future of Africa, because Nigeria should take the lead. This is the future of a race. The most populous black nation is Nigeria. Right? So AI, we acknowledge the importance in scientific and technological advancement and for services across the Nigerian economy. And of course, companies in Nigeria and governments are already deploying AI. That we know. At various levels, at private levels, institutional levels. So what we're already doing is to fashion out an AI policy that will ensure that we do not do catch-up. Those that are keen on developing AI products, working on research on AI to advance our capabilities in AI are supported. So it's not just policy, but also strategy. And recall that we say that one of the things lacking in the Nigeria STI ecosystem is coordination, is leadership. And that is what we also provide in ensuring that AI, even robotics and other dimensions of science and technology, advanced technology, future technologies, right, that we do not do catch up.
Right.
Nigerians, both in Nigeria and outside, are all involved in this. I know very young people, you see them playing with AI, solving their own problems with AI. So we do not lack the knowledge. We do not lack the capacity. It's just to deploy these things properly and, boost the deployment and the capability with our support. And that is what we have already committed to do.
So what's the final message?
Well, my message to the stakeholders in the Nigerian science, technology, and innovation ecosystem is that we should recognize that it's an ecosystem, meaning it's a system made up of different moving parts, everyone playing his or her role, or even its role, because institutions are involved here. And also synergizing to achieve agreed priorities. And what I commit to doing is that I would provide leadership. I would energize the critical parts that ought to be energized, especially at the government or public side, and humble enough to work with those at the private sector, because they're actually the ones that are doing the legwork when it comes to, they're the ones developing technologies. They are the ones using technology more than government. So I would also say I'm humble to connect with them, to work with them, to link our education sector, research institute to the industry, to the market, and link the market, get the value of the market back to the research institute and the educational institute. And like I said, it's all hands on deck. I will do my part, and if everyone would do their part, and we have a focus, we want to achieve this as a country, not just everyone doing their own thing in silos, working together. There's nothing that we cannot achieve. We will certainly move from being catch-up nation when it comes to science, technology, and innovation to being leaders. So it's using this opportunity to tell stakeholders, the chief technology officers, if you've not got my invitation, expect once you are a CTO of the big companies in Nigeria, you will be getting my invitation on how we can collaborate to move Nigeria economy and even our security and every aspect of Nigeria forward so that Nigeria can take leadership, all right, STI ecosystem in Africa and also even move globally. We have all that it takes to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those great insights, Honourable Minister. So before the Q&A, would any of the DGs make some clarifying remarks based on what he has said before we go to Q&A? Mm-hmm.
I may just ask DG Nasda, just a minute on what we're doing in terms of providing resources for defense capability, but of course, what we can, the things that are not sensitive that you can say here. So that we just to strengthen the heart of Nigerian and the global partners that we are not resting on our oars as it relates to security in the country. But like I said, non-sensitive part, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honourable Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, and our host, the Executive Director of CSEA. Of course, the innovations in the area of security in the country is multidimensional, and there are some back-end it's not meant for the press. But in our own ecosystem of the space industry, we have Nigerian Space, National Space Research and Development Agency, we have a Defense Space Administration, as well as NECOMSAT Nigeria Limited. And just on Friday, we even had a breakfast meeting in my office. We support the military with the high resolution as well as medium resolution satellite imageries. We conduct some mapping of sensitive area, and we develop some model of likely area that needs to be protected, because Nigeria is a big country. We have issues with ungoverned spaces, but in the same light, mapping all those ungoverned spaces and identify potential areas which the attention needs to be focused on is part of the work we are doing together. And like my Honourable Minister mentioned, the President was the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, has graciously approved 4 new satellites for us to replace the orbited ones. But we have the satellite images in our archive, and we have international partners from all over the world that they are supporting us. And there are other platforms that is not meant for the press, where we do back-end monitoring and support for the military and defense. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Nasra?
Yes, thank you, DG. I think MBTI, just very briefly on few, I say very briefly, not more than a minute, on what our incubation centers been able to do. Very brief, just a minute. I'm timing you, please.
Thank you, the Honourable Minister. I'm Dr. Kazim Kolawole-Raji. Just like what the Honourable Minister said, I will be very brief. The National Board for Technology Incubation has offices in all the 36 states of the Federation, and we are taking the bull by the horn under the leadership of the Honourable Minister. What we have done currently, which we kickstarted this year, is to grow innovators across the nook and crannies of this country. And this is what led us to on May 28th this year, we unveiled the Next Gen Innovation Challenge, which has been the major thing for Nigeria today. And within 3 weeks, we got over 3,000 application entries, which we actually subjected to technology readiness level assessment framework to select the best, irrespective of where you are from. And we did the national showcase on July 9 this year. And we took this entire 105, which came out sort of a technology readiness level assessment framework, to London, whereby they pitch their innovations across what's the entire innovation ecosystem. And the star prize winner got £1.5 million. And today, I must tell you that the Commonwealth of Nations has adopted MBTI model of innovation to be replicated across 56 member nations, which we are kickstarting in Antigua and Barbuda next year. And we are starting the next one February 2026, which will be kickstarted. And I must add to this that Innovate UK, as just yesterday, they have granted us 20 slots for Nigerian innovators, which is market-ready innovators for Nigerians, which we are kickstarting from next year, February. Congratulations, Nigerians.
You know, just like we said, we are not bereft of human resources, even in the area of advanced science and innovation. So thank you, DG. And finally, NOTAP DG. Just very briefly, a minute on the synergy that we have with the private sector, the market, to link educational institution to the market and link the market to them in terms of providing solution to the market through research, and invention, and then the market providing funding for these institutions? Just very briefly.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Barrister Biageli Amadiobi. I'm the DG CEO of NOTA. Truth be told is that we have researchers in Nigeria, in the universities. But before now, they just research for promotional purposes and put them on the shelf. But through our efforts, we've been able to harness these their R&Ds. And in harnessing them, we have helped them to patent most of these their R&Ds. Now, what we are doing at NOTAP is linking the universities, the academia, with the industries, such that the results from their researches will not just be for the shelf or for record purposes, but for industry need. Therefore, we ask the industries to give us a list of what their proposals are, what things they want the universities to research on. And as soon as we get them, through the committee of the vice chancellors, we send it across to all the universities and the federation. And through our IPTTOs in more than 68 universities, we now get feedback from them, select people who can do researches on such industry-driven topics. And when we get that, the industries automatically take them off because they need them. What we need now is, like the Honourable Minister said, is to bring some of these patented results, put them together, commercialize them. We have already adopted them as our own by patenting them. So what we need is to help them to start up by commercialization. And that is what we urge even the industries to help us do. So we sent the list of most of the already patented results to the industries. Kudos to our Honourable Minister, who recently urged us to move ahead with a strategy on commercialization, which we already have in place right now.
Thank you. Thank you, DG NOTAP. So moving on quickly to the Q&A sessions, I'll be taking 4 questions. Dr. Chidi, please.
Honourable Minister. Hello. Are you hearing me now? No?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, so okay, thank you very much. Honourable Minister, congratulations. Yeah, this is the fact. And then to CC, thank you so much for coming. I'm part of you. Same thing with the African Center of Science and Tech. I'd like to say that I thought about coordination. You mentioned coordination. Awesome, because I'm coming from the regulatory background. Who are the regulators in your space? That's my number 1 question. The regulators. Then number 2, I listened to Professor Azikiwe Onwenu carefully, where he said we are not lacking ideas, but implementation. Now, if I had not come here, I wouldn't have known that we took our talents to the UK and got awarded 1.5 billion. And that speaks to publication. Your ministry is about publication and dissemination of information. So please, I would like to encourage the ministry to do a lot about dissemination of information. And lastly, for lack of time, I'll be writing you later on, but just for lack of time, we need to think about data protections in whatever we do. We've talked about militarization of our spaces and using of spaces and so on and so forth, but data protection is quite key. I'm happy that you're in that space where data protection is very important. And then in artificial intelligence, what we should be focusing on is that how do we ensure that we have copyright protected? The AIs need to be protected from those who are inventing them, not those who are using them. Trademarks, patents, and copyrights, as far as artificial. Now, lastly, comfortable that you never mentioned civil society. in all you said. I'm part of that civil society that will be upsetting you from time to time and telling you the truth. It's not sufficient for us to say, oh, don't say what we will not hear here about our security situation. And then the DG goes ahead and says, we will not say it is in our archives. Our security situations or reports should not be in the archives. These are real life situations that will need to be reported on minute by minute basis. Unless and until the terrorists know that they are being seen and exposed. Delaying our progression or consistent progression.
Thank you. So my name is Tracy Okoro Isaac. I lead mobilization and research as a specialist at UNDP's Timbuktu program. I also lead policy at a company called Digital. And I'm glad you talked about Algeria. But what's most exciting for me walking into this and listening to you is, apart from the fact that you're very young, and what I mean by very young, in comparison to what we've had, I feel very intellectually stimulated to see that hopefully, right, if we do follow you, we will get to where we're going to. Thank you. A round of applause, I guess. Yes, I said hopefully. The reason why I said hopefully is, I like the fact that he mentioned that we have a plethora of policies and implementation is a problem. Being one of the key people that created the Nigeria Startup Act that pushed for the science and innovation policy, I've got colleagues here that know that not blowing my own horn, but I'm a juggernaut in the ecosystem. And one of the key things I like, and I like that he mentioned it, is in collaboration. We see ministers tend to look at the ministry as though, like in the silo, rather than looking at Nigeria as the patient and coming together to solve the problem. So knowing that STI, like you talked about, the STI ecosystem is a huge one. What are you going to do to interlink the other sectors? Because you are going to be supporting these sectors in driving economic prosperity. So think, how do we put in STI for agriculture and stuff like that? Now, you mentioned Algeria. We worked with them to develop that policy that helps them in doing what we call labs, right? I remember that I worked with Obaloluwa here, who are just coming from AU. And one of the key things we did is this, making sure that it's needs-based. So going to the private sector, working with them on the TTO program to say, apart from, I love the fact that NOTAP is moving to commercialization. You literally cannot just hoist research on private sector and industrialization because commercialization and revenue is very key for them, right? So it's important that you find out what they're trying to solve and then they solve with it. So what we've done is we've mastered the incubation part of making sure that it tailors to it. So maybe that's something that you need to do. So my question, that's what I'm going to ask is, while we're thinking about AI, while we're thinking about, being leaders and not playing catch up, how are we going to make sure that the foundational, the rudimentary things that we need to do, right, as an ecosystem in STI is going to be done? Because it's important that we don't even have the major things, like the main things, before we start leaping. So for example, I love that people are building technology for agriculture, but if the farmer can't solve the storage problem, how's he going to be using app to work? If the farmer can't solve the problem of moving from one market to the other, what is he using the app for, right? What is technology for if it's not built on readily available services that we can do that are localized? So I think that that's it. I have a brother who's in Enugu who's currently doing a DNA forensic center with the government, right? And it's crazy because finally the government adopted it. It showed me that there's hope. So that's what I'm saying. And you also coming from that background, there's hope. So I'm going to go home, and tell my people in the UNDP that there's hope. And hopefully when we come back next year, madam, you know me now, this hope would have come to measure it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, for those questions. Gentleman over there. You with a colored shirt.
Hello. Okay. Okay, so can I go ahead? Okay, so good afternoon, Honourable Minister Dr. Kingsley Udeh. I want to also acknowledge the dignitaries here, members of the Fourth Estate, and respected participants as myself. I am TM Nwabufo. I wear two hats as the Executive Director at Phase 3 Telecom and as also the Chief Executive Officer of Wale Technologies, a tech startup. I think it's very interesting congratulating, I think it's interesting that a lawyer and a son is now the Minister of STI, right? So I say that because it would be interesting to see how that sandbox for regulatory framework will work, multi-sectoral, multi-agency. It's not going to be easy, especially when you think of high risk, high reward, sectors like artificial intelligence, biotech, like my wonderful lady here mentioned, how that ties to agriculture, as well as, space tech. It's going to be really interesting. You've got a lot of work to do, Honourable Minister, but we'll support you. Now, I just want to quickly, mine is not so much a question, but more like recommendations, right? In terms of moving forward with private sector engagement. Now, we need to have a solution where we can think of partnering with fintechs like us in a hybrid situation. What do I mean? From regulatory, right, to the services as well that we're supposed to provide. And one of the major critical things that you also mentioned, Honourable Minister, which is energy. We need to have a strong sandbox for that. And I would immediately suggest to you, maybe like a 90-day quick sandbox, and I put all the important private sector players together. Now, this hybrid situation for energy is going to have to target, if we're going to be really honest and we really want to work, it's going to have to target rural areas, the MSMEs, especially women and youth. And to be able to do that is to make sure that you have a green policy framework as well that helps this alternative energy get to them to be able to move this economy forward. In terms of energy deficit, Nigeria is the highest globally. It is. For over 200 million people, it has the highest energy deficit still. So to be able to do that, we need to have that hybrid situation, and we need to have it soon. And a 90-day framework will really make sense at this point to be able to get into rural areas and have this solar. It's not just solar energy, right? It's also trying to, as much as possible, reduce CO2 by millions of tons. So I, for one, as the CEO of a fintech, would be interested in making sure that this engagement happens as soon as possible, and will be here, for instance, if we're needed for such policy drafts. Thank you.
Thank you. One more question. So, this is again. But please be quick so we can have this guy raise his hand.
Can you hear me? All right, thank you very much. So my name is Engineer Kingsley. I'm the president of Internet Society Nigerian chapter. First of all, I want to say congratulations, Honourable Minister. And I'm not going to waste time because I know that a lot of people have questions to ask. So my question has to do with what you said and what the madam from NOTAP said, and of course, the incubation, so to say. So the question is this: I listened to you very well, and as a matter of fact, when Prof was giving us the opening remark the other time, he mentioned the issue of triple helix, which I think it's a very good way to go, and you mentioned something that has to do with that. However, I observed that when Madam Nota was talking, she paused when it got to the issue of commercialization, and that's to say that we still have issues connecting, the links. So I just want to ask, how do you intend to connect the links so that we'll be able to commercialize all those, research that have been done? And I really want to bring to the front burner the fact that if you want to commercialize projects, there are two things to consider. First, you need to be sure that those projects are things that are going to be needed in the society. That is on one hand. And on the other hand, you also need to be sure that, okay, there are interested parties that are ready to commercialize those projects. So I think we need to start looking at how we connect all these dots together. Thank you, Mr. Minister.
The Honourable Minister is in a hurry. Just a final point, please.
Honourable Minister, well, I was guessing when you're going to give journalists the opportunity to ask questions, because that's actually our work. My name is Udeh. I report for Channels Television. Two issues, critically. The first is that Nigeria just signed an agreement with France on taxation. And there are lots of young people in Nigeria asking, if we have fintechs like Flutterwave, InterSwitch, and all these guys, why are we going to France to ask them to help us collect tax? We can do that in Nigeria. You know, that's the first thing, Honourable Minister. The second thing critically is, I'm just from NCDMB, and NCDMB says that it's achieved 61% local content, well, primarily for the oil and gas sector, which of course science and tech also plays a role in. But critically is that the parts where they've not been able to do a lot of scaling in terms of local production is manufacturing. So where's Naseni in all this? I understand Naseni is all under STI. In terms of not just building materials, but also cars. China is doing a lot in terms of ramping up production and delivering cars across the world. Nigeria can also play there as well. Thank you, Honourable Minister. And in terms of talking about the things that you do in STI, we will just be partners. Thank you.
Finally, gentleman here.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm Samson Odo. I'm on the board of learning and development for Africa AI Lab, and also the founder and CTO of Note Nigeria, it's a software development company. So my question kind of wraps around everything that everyone else asks today. Professor Arinze mentioned, policy is not the problem. It's not that we lack solutions or resources. Implementation is the issue. But one thing we haven't really heard today is the visibility and transparency of that implementation. Because the biggest problem in Nigeria is that we see so much money going into black holes, and no one says anything, no one knows what's going on. So there hasn't been actually any mention, and that's just what I'd like to get to, what I'd like him to mention.
Mention of transparency, you mean?
Transparency, yes. A public system where not only citizens can monitor the system, but also it helps the ministry internally, because now people have something to work for. People in the ministry are happy to come to work because they see a goal that they can actually work towards.
Thank you. Please, Honourable Minister, your response, please. Or reactions.
Thank you very much. First, let me start by saying that I would request that before we leave here, we could identify the things that we could do together as an audience or as a team or as stakeholders, so that as the first speaker, that is Dr. Tracy, said that maybe in a year's time you would assess. Let us have something to assess me with, or something to assess us with. And when I say us, I mean really us. Like I said, it's an ecosystem that involves multi-level stakeholders. And all of us here are stakeholders. So if we can, so that this will not just be a talk shop, if we can identify before we leave certain resolutions to do, at least some to-do lists, so that when I work out from here, I can say, okay, these are some of the things we resolve to do, and then at least when we take it out from here, know those that ought to do this, and then they could be held accountable, including me. So Dr. Chidi talked about who are the regulators. The regulators would depend on, STI is very huge ecosystem. So regulators would depend on which aspect of the ecosystem. So for the space realm, it is the National Space Council, which is actually chaired by the president. And that's where matters relating to regulating, and not just regulating, also projecting what we aspire to achieve in the space realm, right, are all done. And that council have been meeting, but by the law, it should meet at least twice in a year. And that is one of the things we want to activate in this administration, that it ought to meet as the law has provided that it should. So it's just one of such regulatory entity. Another one is the Science, Technology and Innovation Council, also headed by the president, because the law, the federal policy, acknowledges the importance of STI in empowering all our sectors. And like I said, one of the key things that we would do in this administration is to ensure that these regulatory entities are activated and they do their regulatory functions. So you advise about publication and dissemination, very important. One of the things we started doing is to boost. When I came, discovered that our website was not optimal. We were trying to optimize this, and this is actually part of it. Because we know we're interacting with the people, also interacting with the media. And we should push out this, and not the activities of the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, but activities within the STI ecosystem. Data protection is important, and NUTAP is taking the lead in that. And as a lawyer, we understand the importance of data protection, and we'll give it all that is required. And Nigeria would never be shortchanged when it comes to their intellectual property, as long as I'm the minister, not just minister, would also put in place legacies, put in place sustainable regulatory frameworks to ensure that it's not about whether this particular minister is there, but we build a system and institution that will ensure that Nigeria, moving towards strong knowledge-based economy, has its intellectual property and that of those of the citizens protected. When I say civil society, the private sector is part of it. That's for me the broad terminology. If you understand that I am also a civil society person, yes, there's no way I can exclude the civil society. At a particular time, I was the OGP focal person in Enugu State. So if you're in the civil society space, you will know about OGP. I was at a particular time the SSA Development Aid. In fact, most of my work has been in the civil society space and consulting for international organizations at various realms, United Nations, World Bank, and all. So I understand the importance of civil society. They're all part of the strong stakeholders in our STI ecosystem. Most of the laws on the STI ecosystem policies, you can't take away the contributions of various civil society. Most of the time, they're even the ones that pioneered the making of such laws. Sometimes they wouldn't even come from the governments. They would not allow it to come, the bills to come as executives. They will introduce it as a separate member. So we recognize the contributions of our very robust civil society in Nigeria as it relates our STI ecosystem. Now moving to Tracy. Tracy talks about interlinking the sectors. Tracy, if there's anything that I am as a person committed to doing is that interlinkage. Because as I said, I have that understanding that we're talking about an ecosystem. An ecosystem, I have the perspective of understanding that I'm the Minister of Innovation, Science, and Technology, and not the Minister of the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science, and Technology. So, like I have mentioned, we're writing to the chief technology officers of 50 biggest companies in Nigeria, is to link up with them and link them with other stakeholders. So, one of the key ways of closing the gap is to ensure that there's these linkages. And because of the fact that I've said this before myself, and we as key stakeholders, those in the agencies and other key stakeholders I've begun to engage with, I'm engaging with development partners, UNIDO, and of course, like I said, engaging with the private sector and the civil society. We begin to shake hands. And beyond individual effort, beyond the personal efforts, we also want to integrate this as a policy. You know that someone was talking about making sure that research, researches or research effort are market-driven. You can't just throw research outcomes or R&D results on the market and want them to fund it. It should actually be the other way around. Market should drive research. Yes. If there's a research need, and sometimes they even pay for it. Some Nigerian traders here, they pay Chinese guys in China to research how particular need here will be sorted, will be solved by a particular good or item there, and they will do it for them, and they're paid, and then they do prototyping and start manufacturing. They pay, they don't need government involvement in this. Why? It connects with their production, connects with their profitability. So you talked about foundational things. This is, like I said, we're not working to, have Nigeria claimed as STI powerhouse. No, for us, primarily to meet the needs of Nigerians using science, technology, and innovation. And that is why we say that even beyond personal mission, that we're going to make it as a foundational policy matter, that our research should be market-driven. It should be driven by needs of the market and also national priorities, so that we'll not begin to talk about deploying AI when the farmers do not even have the basic storage technology. So it's primarily connecting with the market, connecting with the industry, identifying national priorities, and then deploying science, technology, innovation to handling these things. And then we go to, you talked about DNA in Enugu. Incidentally, I was the Attorney General of Enugu State until very recently. So that DNA center in Enugu, we worked on that transaction, and we got it in there. Partnership between Enugu State Government and Godfrey Okoye University. Is it the one that you're referring to? Yes. So truth is that, going to someone mentioning that I think it was TM Wabu being a lawyer and being here. Well, I've always been involved in the STI ecosystem. Law is just one of the things that I've done in life. I've been very massive. I've been very, strong in governance, in policy and strategy, in deploying science, technology, innovation to solving. I was SSA development aid. I went as SSA development aid. The focus of my development intervention was in the area of STI. We brought in GIZ, for the first time in the whole of Eastern region, what is old Eastern region. And the focus was on STI. We brought in SALP to do robotics and coding for teachers and for our youths in Enugu when I was SSA Development Aid, right? And when I was special advisor on education, focus was on STI. So don't worry, what I'm bringing is years of experience in mobilizing stakeholders to achieving set goals through identifying and setting up structures and frameworks and then implementing. So what I'll be giving to the STI ecosystem is leadership. And I have all that it takes to do that. Working together with you. We'll come back maybe 6 months, 1 year, and then we'll compare notes. Thank you very much. So yes, we'll work together. We'll work together TMY before. We would certainly work together. I want to work with you, a very accessible person. Apart from being good on age, I'm also good on interrelationship. So Kunle, you talk about connect the links research to the market. So it's, in fact, just this morning, we set up a committee to work on guidelines for research, development, and invention commercialization. It's a committee that we just set up. So because we are now deliberate about commercialization, deliberate about linking the market to research and development, and linking research and development to the market. So it's something that we're working on, not just as an effort, but even as a structural matter, policy, law, and regulation. Udeh channels. Local content. Yeah, just like I had mentioned, it's almost a law, just waiting for the president to sign the 30% value addition law. Once that is done, Kule, I can assure you that most of the things that we as a nation have taken the back seat on our raw materials, creating value, going into manufacturing, it will strengthen the heart of resolve of investors within Nigeria and outside Nigeria that was here, especially when we start implementation. And my key slogan now is implement commercialization now, or energize commercialization now.
Great.
And finally, yes. Finally, on transparency. You know that the importance of the civil society and the media is that you don't wait till the government wants to do a thing. You force them to do the thing. So if you ask questions, if you hold public officers accountable, if you do your own investigative journalism on how money is spent for identifiable STI project or programs, you'll find it, or you find them. And when that is done, it's either those involved deliberately or voluntarily provide transparency, or you get them to, you force them or you compel them to be transparent. Did you get what I'm saying now? If we see the STI ecosystem as something that all of us are involved in, you should ask certain questions. But what I can guarantee, and that's been the ethics that have informed my public service, is that I am always transparent. Ask those that I work with. I am transparent, I am accessible, and I'm accountable. So, but beyond my personal ethics, I am inviting you, especially as a media person, as a CSO person, ask questions. Ask questions. Demand certain answers. And many times, even when political office holders or public servants do not want to say a word about it, when you push it, they will say it. When you push for it, they will say it, especially when you're involved, because it's what you know about that you can ask questions about. So let's work together as partners in this ecosystem. And I thank you all for this privilege of making us accountable, because part of what we have achieved here is accountability, that we can come and questions will be asked and we can respond to these questions. So thank you for making
a round of applause for the Honourable Minister. So the session, the Fireside chat has ended, please. Thank you very much for your audience.
Thank you very much, distinguished guests. Please let's put together an energizing round of applause for the Honourable Minister. Is this how energizing? So I want you to put it together as energizing as you want him to be in his tenure as the Honourable Minister of the Innovation, Science and Technology. Please, sir, you may retire to your seat. Thank you very much. Please, another energizing round of applause as he takes his seat. Please, you may all be seated. Thank you so much, the Honourable Minister, and thank you, Dr. Chuka, for such a highly engaging and thought-provoking conversation. At this time, it is now my privilege and honor to invite the Director of Research, Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa, Dr. Adedeji Adeniro, for the closing remarks. Please, a round of applause.
I think we are in the evening now because it's past 4. So I'm here to just say thank you first to the Honourable Minister, Science, Technology and Innovation. I think when he was at the Senate, I was watching it and it was memorizing. So who are we not to be memorized today? So thank you so much. And I like the practical way to actually handle the question. For me, before this meeting, I would say my knowledge of the is around 40%, but I think I can upgrade myself to around 55 now. We're still going to learn more from what the ministry is doing for coming for this engagement. We also want to thank the DGs of the agencies and parastatals under the STI ministry for your participation and engagement. And I think we've also learned a lot from you all, and I think we will continue to engage with you. I also want to thank Professor Azikwe Onwualu. I think your presentation was really well received. You set the pace, and I think, again, we appreciate your coming and your participation in this chat. To everyone in the room, I think we also want to appreciate you. I could see during the question and answer, there's actually a lot of hands at the back. We were unable to pick many. It's unfortunate. And I think it just shows how much engaged and how much actually people really want to really see success in many aspects. If Nigeria would develop, I think one of the metrics would be science and technology, because that's actually what the future lies. And for that reason, I think we are, as a Nigeria, we are happy that we have someone that is so passionate about policy, so passionate about this very critical issue, and also accountable. Someone willing to really engage and really be held accountable for what would be achieved. we can only wish you best in your endeavor and as you shape the ministry. So to everyone in the room, and to all as Center for Study of Economies of Africa, as a think tank, these are the kind of engagement we want to be having. We've had several in the past and we will continue to have more, but we will still engage with you such that we continue to have this conversation, because this cannot just be a workshop whereby we just talk and leave it there. We need to actually move from this discussion to action. And I think the minister has mentioned that we want something to really hold on. So if you have any comment, just write it down, give it to any of us around here. We will actually put up a report that we can share with the ministry. If you're unable to write it out due to time, send it to our website, enquiries@cceafrica.org. Okay, maybe you can.
I'll go and see it. So the minister just said that he's also open to creating a social media platform where we can interact with the people, the stakeholders in this room. Thank you.
That is openness. So thank you so much. So we will continue to engage with everyone in the room. Please, our website, Center for Study of CSEA visit us. We have a lot of things that I think you will enjoy. We will also continue to engage with this issue and many other issues. And until the next time that we will see again, thank you and see you soon.
Thank you so much, Dr. DG. Now we'll be having some photographs. We would like to invite the Honourable Minister, our Executive Director, DGs of parastatals, permanent secretaries here present, members of the diplomatic, the permanent secretary, Mr. Philip Ndiomo, members of the diplomatic communities, development partners, CSEA,